Not only do I think it's accurate, I think we are ramping up to do the latter. And I hate to say this, but here are three reasons, three observations from me that tell me we're ramping up to do something if there's no change. Number one, when's the last time you seen JD Vance speak publicly on what's going on with Iran? He's supposed to be the lead negotiator for the United States. You seen him lately? You have not. There's a reason. There's no negotiations happening. There's nothing to convey. And the last time we saw him, literally, the Iran delegation ignored him. That's number one. Number two, I've said this before, the position of forces. Okay. The United States has moved the elements of the Fifth Fleet that's afloat closer to the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz, further up in the Gulf of Oman. Some people say, yeah, they're trying to bait Iran into attacking a ship, and that'll give us reason to go in there, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's not even really that. It is a rapid response position. If they need to try to go in there, if that decision is made, they are better positioned to do it, right? So that's the second thing, and thirdly, and this is something where I want to be wrong, but the suggestions, the wild suggestions that are coming from those on the right who are like, you got to take Harg out. President Trump in the last 72 hours has gone on record on TV saying, well, we'll look at that. Well, he's not saying, no, we're not going to this, that, and the other. And it's coming directly from him because you haven't seen Hegseth either, which is also interesting, which tells me they're knee deep in planning. Now they hit Qasem Island. They're talking about Karg, but again, the problem remains a geographical one along with technological one. You've got to get up in there to drop off forces. It's hard. Maxine is asking, how could the U.S. escalate? What does that mean? Boots on the ground. That's exactly what it means in any limited capacity. Now, there's the curse of what happened in Venezuela. And I say curses because the Venezuela extraction of Maduro was headlined by special forces. And so Trump now believes that special forces can do anything. This is not an insertion that we're talking about. This is an invasion that we're talking about. Right. Completely different, because Iran is how many times bigger than Venezuela? Heck, it's bigger than any other country in that region. And the shoreline itself runs the entire basic Persian Gulf. Okay. This is a problem where you need not hundreds, you would need thousands eventually to invade and maintain. Now, a lot of people are like, well, you just need Karg Island, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Let's say it's just Karg Island, which is in what we call the NAG, the North Arabian Gulf section. You got to get there, man. And then even if you are successfully able to infiltrate, you've got to be able to hold it. Because if you think the IRG, specifically the IRGCN, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, their assets, they literally will sacrifice themselves to remove intruders off that land. I know because I dealt with them. So you've got to understand the area, geography-wise, geographically, and you have to understand who you're dealing with. You've been bombing them for 3-4 months, and they're still there. Do you really think when you try to invade their land, they'll just roll over? But at the same time, you may not have a choice, because you got a clock that's ticking called the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which I just mentioned. That is your clock. That is your stopwatch. That is your countdown. And unless something majorly happens quickly, when it gets down to those low millions, the economy will go into a worldwide recession. Not just us, the entire planet, unless something gives. And now you're asking yourself, will President Trump fall on his own sword for the rest of the world? There's your fundamental strategic question, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we all know what the answer is.
No, well, look, I think that, what you're talking about is sacrifice, right? And World War II, the United States came together. We had victory gardens, right? Women joined the workforce in droves. while the men went and fought the battles. And there's nobody has an appetite for sacrifice for something like this, for this particular war. And so I want to actually talk, I've been thinking about this, the Karg Island situation. You see, I don't know, people sounding off on Twitter or God forbid, or wherever, that, Karg Island would be a disaster. But can you put it into historical context? Like, this is first of all, it's an island. We've fought battles on islands before, right? How did that go?
The bloodiest conflicts of World War II happened during the island hopping campaign in the Pacific. Now, I have stood on the very spot where that famous flag raising at Iwo Jima on Mount Suribachi was. I can send you pictures. I was there. It was a straight up mountain. And here's the thing. Karg Island's heights are taller than that. And it took the most battle-hardened Marines in U.S. history weeks to secure that. Okay? Karg Island's much bigger than Iwo Jima. It is completely covered in this thing called air defense radars. Also, it's well insulated and protected. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something that I don't care what type of weapon you have. I don't care how good your intel is. To scale and do that, if you Google it, if you Google Earth it, just Google Earth it, you're asking something very, very difficult, which is why Iran put their oil reserves and their processing there in the first place. The hardest thing the United States military will have to deal with Iran is the geography of Iran. Full stop. Forget weaponry. It's the geography. It's the arid temperatures. It's the size of it. It's the scope of it. It's going to play the ultimate away game against a team that is all about defense at all costs, to include their own life. Right? That's the best way I can describe it for Americans. And no matter how competent and capable your forces are, how technologically advanced you believe those forces are, there's always going to be things that you don't know until you get there, that you will have to flex for. And I don't believe the Trump administration, based on their current actions, think in those terms. The known unknowns are not being mentioned, because if they were, they would have never did this in the first place. As much as I couldn't stand some of what Donald Rumsfeld said back when he was Secretary of Defense, when I was a young junior officer, he was right. There are known knowns and known unknowns, and you have to be ready to deal with the known unknowns and then the unknown unknowns.